Hello YouTube, and thank you for tuning in again to the Leo channel. Again, my name is Sig and I'm going to be making a guest contribution for the Leo channel on the G major scale. Now last week I spoke about the C major scale, and what I wanted to mention is that the order in which I am going to show all these scales to you is the order in which I suggest that you learn them, because what's going to happen is the scales are very closely related. And when you learn the next scale from the previous one that we reviewed, you will see that there's only one very minor change that you need to make, and that is altering what we will call the leading tone. So before we get on to showing you the major scale in G, I would like to just spend a few minutes showing you what the leading tone is and why we need to make the adjustments on each one of these scales. So first of all, we'll go back to the C major scale just to review what we've done, and that is to go from C all the way to the other C in order. And in this scale, what I want to bring to your attention is that the tone number 7, which is the B, this is called the leading tone. And the reason for that is that just the way that music works, when you hit this tone, after playing the rest of them, it has what I would say is a very strong pull towards the main tone of the scale, which is the C. And so in order to show you how that feels, I'm going to play from C to B, and I will not play the C just so that you can see how this leading tone pulls towards the C. So I'll go like this. And you can feel that something is missing there because we didn't play the last note, and the reason for that is the leading tone and the position that it has so close to the main tone of the scale is what really gives the pull towards finishing on that particular note. So in this case, the leading tone for the C major scale is the immediately the note that is immediately to the left of the last one, which would be the B. And so what we're going to do is again play it. And now by playing the C, we come at rest again. So what happens with playing the leading tone and then playing the full scale is that there is some tension, and then when you get to the last note, the tension gets released. Now, if we try to do the same with the same notes that we have right now, but starting on G, that leading tone wouldn't be so, it wouldn't be very closely related, and the reason for that is that the scale that we would be playing in G would not be exactly the same. So let me just show you real quick. We have here starting in G, and you can feel that the difference between this F and this G is not quite as strong, or the link between the two is not as strong as you would see between the B and the C. And the reason for that is that between the F and the G, there is a full tone, so F, F sharp, and then G, whereas between the B and the C, you only have a half a tone. So the way that we correct the structure for the G major scale is that instead of F, we're going to add a sharp, and instead of playing F, we're going to play F sharp. And that is going to become our leading tone for the G major scale. So we're going to add the F, and that'll show you what we're trying to accomplish. Again. So you can see that by increasing the pitch from F to F sharp, the tone becomes the leading tone, and it's only a distance of a half a tone between the F sharp and the G, which is what we want to accomplish. So whereas in the C major scale, the distance between the leading tone and the main tone is half a tone, in the G major scale, without adding the sharp, we wouldn't have that. So that's why we have to add the sharp in the beginning. And so now that we know what are the notes that should go into that scale, the only thing that we need to focus on now is just the fingering. So the fingering is going to be very simple, and it's identical to what you would have for the C major scale. So you're going to start with 1, 2, 3, then you're going to cross, and then you're going to go alternating between the 3 and the 4 until you reach the end of the scale. So you go like this: 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Now same thing: 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then on the descending side, we would have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We run out of fingers, and so we go over with number 3. Again. And now the whole thing, ascending and then descending. One more time. And so the same thing would happen with the left hand. We will follow exactly the same fingering as we have for the left hand that we used on the C major scale, and if you haven't watched my video on that, I suggest that you do so, because the finger is going to be the same. So we start with number 5. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, again, with the correct fingering. So we start with 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Crossover with 3. And now we do the same on the G major scale. And crossover with 3. One more time. Crossover with 3. And now descending. Cross under with 1. And now the both ways. And now if we try to do that with both hands, we'll focus on that. So one more time. And it's usually a good idea for you, whether you're practicing the C major scale or the G major scale, to always get used to playing at least 2 octaves together. So if we start, for example, on these G to the left of the C, where we started the C major scale, we would do first one hand, then the other, and then both together. So we'll start with the right hand, crossover or under with 3, and then cross with 4, 3, 4, and you end with 5. And then on the way back, crossover with 3, crossover with 4, and then the whole thing together. So if you look at this scale, it's exactly the same fingering as we used for the C major scale. So that should help you reinforce both of them. The only difference between the two is on the C major scale, all the notes are white. On the G major scale, the only one that changes to a sharp is the F. And so we'll go again, but this time with the left hand. So for the left hand, we'll start with 5, crossover with 3. Now this is the C major scale. Same thing with the G major scale. And now 2 octaves together. One more time. Okay, and so finally we're going to try and do 2 octaves for both hands at the same time. And so we'll do that. Again. And so that's it. This scale is actually very simple. As I said before, the only difference is that the scale of G has the F sharp, And so actually that's a very quick way that you can find if a piece is written for G major, because in the structure of the page, if you look at, for example, this particular second movement here, you can see that there is a sharp at the beginning of the staff, and this sharp affects all of the notes. And so the sharp is in F. That in and of itself should tell you that the piece is probably in G major, because it means that every single F across the entire staff and across the entire piece will be a sharp. And that means that the piece is, again, in G major. And so that is a very quick way to recognize what tone the piece is written in. And so it's also a very good way to memorize that G major will always be a scale that has all white notes with the exception of the F, which is a sharp. I hope you liked this video, and yeah, looking forward to seeing you next week on the D major scale.